What's up, Falcon fans and non-Falcon fans? On today's episode of Atlanta Falcons 2023 Depth Chart Review Part 8, the linebacking core position, and we can clearly see right here, these will be our starting moving forward until the NFL draft ends, until the season begins. If you guys like this type of content, let me know by hitting that like button, and if you want to share this video, share it with your friends and foe, and if you want to hit that dislike button, do so. It won't hurt your boy's feelings, well, maybe just a little bit. And if you want to do a huge solid favor for your boy, hit that subscribe button. It will help out with this Falcon Empire channel so much, and thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. So let's dive into the video. Let's start off with the outside linebacker, Alonzo Carter. So last year he played on the right side, outside of the edge. So in a lot of articles I've been reading up to this point, that they moved him to the left side, outside of the edge. So he was previously drafted by the New York Giants in 2018 in the third round with the 66th pick overall. And he played with the Giants in 2018 through 2021. And then we signed him in 2022 on a one-year contract, and now we just re-signed him back into 2023 with a 2-year contract worth $9 million. And I thought he did an okay job with us, you know, coming into a brand new defensive system, coming into a brand new environment for him. You know, because when he was with the Giants, he didn't really pan out like they were hoping he would have, because he didn't really get a lot of sacks, he didn't get a lot of pressures there, he didn't make a lot of splash plays. But when he came here, he started for us, and he had a career year in all phases, especially in tackles for loss, that was 6, quarterback pressures, that was 20, and quarterback hits, that was 12. Of course, the sacks weren't his highest, but you know what? We can live by that. You know, 2 pass deflections, 1 interception for a touchdown is really awesome to see. And of course, no forced fumbles, but he could definitely prove on next year. So I don't think he's going to be starting for us this season. I think he's a really nice depth piece, a nice rotational player that already knows the system. And when someone gets tired, he can just come in there and just, you know, get after the quarterback. And you always need guys to be fresh on their game, because that's how you win the majority of the scrimmage yard battles. And the reason why I say that, because I want to state this. He was excellent against the Cleveland Browns. He was pretty good against the Carolina Panthers the first time. He was really good against the New Orleans Saints. He was pretty good against the Arizona Cardinals and the Chicago Bears. But why do I say those teams? Because sometimes he kind of got lost in the starting lineup, especially against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Washington Commanders, the Los Angeles Chargers, the Cincinnati Bengals, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers again, the Seattle Seahawks, and the Los Angeles Rams, and the first time he matched up against the New Orleans Saints, where all those games I just mentioned, he did sack Joe Burrow once, he did sack Geno Smith once, and he did sack Jameson Winston half a sack with Grady Jarrett on the tracks with him. But even still, sacks shouldn't be the main factor of you producing. You have to making sure that you're always gonna set the edge, you're going to set the tone, you're going to make sure the running back does not go through you. You also want to put fear in the quarterback where they're afraid to throw the ball, and you want to get pressures, quarterback hits, and hurries, and you want to do all that statistics. Yes, now sacks are very important. I'm not disputing that, they're not. But what I am saying, that to become an elite pass rusher, you have to do a lot of other steps besides getting the sacks. Even though a lot of fans thinking if you get more sacks, that means you're automatically one of the best pass rusher in the game. No, they clearly don't understand how football works then. But besides that, I think if he continues on a good note, he definitely will benefit more down the lane when we eventually be into the playoffs. So now let's talk about the inside guys. We have Troy Anderson, who will be our starting WLB. That means weak side linebacking core. He will be our starter for this upcoming season. He was drafted back in 2022 in the second round with the 58th overall pick out of Montana State. So the Atlanta Falcons signed him to a 4-year contract worth $6 million. I talked a lot about his game back in March, where I dived deep into his skill sets when it came to the Atlanta Falcons Case Files series, Season 2, Episode 3. I'll put the links in the bottom below if you guys didn't get a chance to watch it. And I basically explained, what were his strengths, what were his weaknesses, and how much I was very impressed on his game because he didn't get the start in the beginning of the season, and later down the line when he proved himself against the Seattle Seahawks, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on both occasions, the 49ers, and even the Bengal games. Now, the games I did notice that he kind of, fall off the charts was definitely against the Los Angeles Chargers. He was basically a no-show besides that one pass deflection I thought was pretty good with his athleticism he can show, but then, he kind of faltered against the Saints, the Steelers, the Commanders, both of the Carolina games, the Cleveland Browns, the Rams, and then, of course, the Chicago Bears. And what they all have in common? Well, he got after them or he put pressure, but he didn't tackle them enough where, they were stopped at that position or at that point in time where they got a lot more yardage, because one of his biggest issues was missing open field tackles where clearly he can outspeed anybody if he wanted to on every given snap. But he has to learn, it has to master, and it has to adjust how he translates his body when he's going, toe-to-toe with somebody, with the tight end, with the running backs, or with the wide receivers. He can do it. We've seen clips of him doing it, but he has to understand how to do that consistently enough where he can be an all-pro level on that. But for a rookie, I thought he did an incredible job what he was given, what the type of mentality he got when he was in college coming to the NFL, and he did show a lot of flashes in his rookie season, so that makes me very happy, and hopefully he can continue with that success moving forward. Now let's talk about the other guys. As it states right now, Malik Walker will be our starting SLB, that means strong side linebacker position, until the NFL draft happens or after the free agency market is completely over when the August time for the preseason starts. So the Atlanta Falcons got him back in 2020 in the 4th round with the 119th pick overall, and we also signed him to a 4-year contract worth $4 million. So on that note, the Atlanta Falcons are dealing with a very interesting proposition about Malik Walker. Do I think he's an excellent linebacker? No. Do I think he's the worst linebacker? No. The strange thing is, even though Malik Walker played almost all of his games besides 2 games he missed in the entirety of his NFL career, he didn't really get a great opportunity to start. In his rookie year, he only got to start in 6 games. In his 2021 campaign, he only got to start in 2 games. And back in 2022, he only got to start in 12 games. So what does that tell you? There are certain things he needs to improve on. But before we talk about that, I want to talk about the positive that I know he is capable of doing pretty well. First of all, is man-to-man coverage. Second is his backpedaling mechanics. I think he does a pretty good job, especially when he has to go side to side with anybody. Third, his speed. I really do like when he could use that quick burst when he really has to use it. Number 4, IQ test when it comes to the linebacking position, because we all know that the linebackers are usually the generals. So what does that mean? It means that they kind of demand and control and tell where everybody needs to be in the right position at the right time, so no big plays will get on you guys. And number 5, the most important thing is his hands. I think he does a pretty good job using his hands, especially with 11 pass deflections he has in his entire career, and 3 interceptions and 1 touchdown. And also he has 1 fumble, and he has a lot of quarterback hits with 4 and 5 tackles for loss in his 3 years so far with the Atlanta Falcons. So, what are the negatives I have noticed? In some coverage packages that the Atlanta Falcons like to use, I don't think they're the right fit, especially on a cover 3, where if he has to go out way far and not close up, he's definitely not going to catch up in those critical moments. But you know what? That's a lot of times when players have to go into a cover 3. I really hate cover 3. I understand you need to use it sometimes, but I really can't stand cover 3, because most of the time when you're in a cover 3, you're not going to challenge one-to-one individual matchup. You're going to give them that nice spread 10 to 15 to 5 yards of untouched, potential of grass. And I really think that really hurts a lot of players. Number 2, it's his confidence level, because he's an athletic freak. There's no denying that. But there's a reason why he had 107 tackles. By the way, only 56 of them were solos, and 51 of them were assist tackles, because a lot of times I noticed he got up really quick in the burst, but then he just hesitated for those couple of seconds where he didn't know what to do or how he should do it, because a lot of times I noticed he kind of tackled upward, not downward, and then there's a lot of times, he just angles everything wrongly, so that's why he got more assists than solo tackles. But that's really just it. If he could just master that, this year and really prove it onto this new Falcons defense, I think he can become a really great player for us, and I hope he does become a really great player for us. But we gotta acknowledge, what he needs to work on before he could become a true master of the game. So let's continue with the last starting linebacker. That will be the starting right outside linebacker, Kaden Ellis, coming from the Bayou, coming to the ATL. So, he was drafted back in 2019 in the 7th round with the 244 pick. Now, we got him in this free agency for a 3-year contract worth $21 million. What is very interesting to me is how Ryan Nielsen, our new defensive coordinator for the Atlanta Falcons, will use his 4-3 into a 3-4 scheme fit to making sure that Kaden Ellis will use his full potential from last year's season, unlike the previous 2019 through 2021 seasons, where he shined this year, because the New Orleans Saints realized his best features were stopping the run, especially on down the hill types of running plays, and he was a premier pass rushing specialist. Now, he wasn't asked much to cover for the New Orleans Saints, but even still, he was targeted 32 times. He only allowed 25 receptions for 234 yards. Now, he didn't give up any touchdowns, but he didn't get any picks either. But the cool thing about his snap count is, back in 2020 through 2021, he only averaged 270-ish type of snap counts. So this previous year, he had over 630 defensive snap counts. And it shows right here on the stat sheet where, look at all these attributes he gathered because he got more opportunities to showcase what he's proven. And this is the result of getting that trust, understanding the system, because he's been bred into it for so long. And eventually, when he got his chance to shine, he showed up. And that's what I'm very excited for him to do for the Atlanta Falcons. His best games were against the Cleveland Browns, the Philadelphia Eagles, the 49ers, the Rams, and the Pittsburgh Steelers, where I thought he handled himself pretty well and showcased what he brought to the table. So now let's talk about some of the games he was kind of lost in, especially in the Carolina Panthers games, the last one, especially with the Las Vegas Raiders, the Cincinnati Bengals, and the Minnesota Vikings, were a couple of slight minors where he got lost in the sauce, where he kind of didn't concentrate enough of looking out kind of like a scout, where he just ran into a wall, if you want to say, where he just got stuck in the group holding and he couldn't get himself out of there. So that's a very slight concern I have, but like in everything else, he can definitely work on that, because now he's with maybe a different type of scheme set where he's gonna have more open space when he's going to connect with the enemy, but who knows. But on that note, I think this really is a great pickup for us, and hopefully he will pan out for us. So now let's dive deeper into the rest of the squad. Now let's talk about my boy Adejumoke Okumbo Ogundeji, where he was drafted back in 2021 in the 5th round with the 182 pick overall. That the Atlanta Falcons signed him to a 4-year contract worth $3 million. So on that note, I thought he had a pretty stellar year. Now, was it excellent? No. Was it bad? No. He still needs time to grow, and it shows. Compared to his rookie year, I thought he did a better job this year, where he grand total of 42 total tackles, 19 solo tackles, 23 assists, 2 sacks, 7 quarterback pressures, 1 quarterback hit, 3 tackle for losses, and 5 times for stuffing the run. But that's not bad for a second string type of player, but unfortunately, he was our starter for 16 games. And like I stated, it wasn't excellent, he wasn't bad. There were a lot of times I thought he did affect the game, but it wasn't enough of consistency enough where he provided the Falcons to help them gain that extra leverage. But hopefully in year 3, he can definitely turn all those negatives into positives to really set him up for success for the upcoming years. So on that note, let's talk about DAngelo Malone, where he was drafted back in 2022 in the 3rd round with the 82 overall pick, which the Atlanta Falcons signed into a 4-year contract worth $5 million. And I thought he did a stellar job for a guy who got to play in 15 games, didn't start once, but you know what? He totaled over 29 tackles, 18 solos, 11 assists, 1 sack, 6 quarterback pressures, 2 quarterback hits, 4 tackles for loss, and 4 times stuffing the run. So that's pretty good for a second string guy who didn't get much playing snaps. But there was one game I was very impressed with when he was going against the Cincinnati Bengals, where he got 1 sack, 1 tackle, but 3 quarterback pressures and 1 tackle for loss. So he does have the mobility to get after the quarterback. He just needs to be more confident, and the Atlanta Falcons need to give him the tools and the tool shed where he can go out and ball and pursue the quarterback every given snap. So on that note, let's talk about David Arneno, who was undrafted back in 2022. Now he was with the Tennessee Titans, then with the Steelers, and now with the Falcons. And frankly, he's not going to make it on a 53-man roster. He's just there for depth beats or tryouts. At this point, he's definitely going to get cut. Hopefully, another team can find use for him, but for right now, the Atlanta Falcons just don't need him right now. Okay, now let's talk about Nate Landman, where he's an undrafted rookie out of Colorado. Now, he got to play in 7 games, but he only got 1 assist against the Seattle Seahawks. So clearly, the Atlanta Falcons coaching staff believe in him so much that he got some opportunity to be on the field, especially early in the season, but realized he just wasn't developing right or quick enough for them, so they kind of, was in the bottom of the depth chart. But hopefully this year, he got to understanding the Atlanta Falcons defensive scheme and how they want to portray him in certain type of situations, especially in coverages, because I do think this year he does have a good chance making the roster again like he did last year, but also contributing more on the field. So on that note, let's talk about Doran Etheridge, undrafted rookie back in 2021. He played at Louisville, so a couple times he was in the practice squad, then we released him, and then we signed him to be the activated roster spot. And so there's back and forth for this kid. I understand he got injuries during the preseason as well, but it's unfortunate because he was very dominant in 2 seasons in the preseasons where I thought he had the opportunity to become a 53-man roster. I think this year, if everything pans out, if there's no injuries and he can recover, getting his mindset right, I definitely think he will be a contributor for this Falcons team. Now let's talk about Tate Davison. I'm not crazy about this pick. I totally understand he was undrafted back in 2018 and played at Chattanooga, and he only played a year and a half for the Giants before the Giants got rid of him and sent him to the Cleveland Browns, and then the Browns got rid of him, and then he went with the Texans, and then the Texans got rid of him, and then he went with the Las Vegas Raiders, then they got rid of him, then he went back with the Cleveland Browns, and now we have him. So statistically, it's not looking for your boy. Of course, we do not know, what steps occur, why he was never on a 53-man roster, or if he did get time of snaps, was he successful in them? Well, we clearly see if you go back in 2018, he had a pretty good year for an undrafted rookie. There's no denying that. And, he played in 14 games, total 33 tackles, 26 solos, 7 assists, 2 sacks, 1 pass deflection. So that clearly tells you he has some type of skill set. Of course, when he was with the Browns, he got a little bit more playing times. In 2020, 13 games. In 2022, 5 games. And so, but in those games, he really didn't make any big splash plays. So that's why I'm not really too concerned about this. I don't think he's going to make the 53-man roster. He'll probably be a practice squad member. So I'm not really too harpoon on this pick. I'm just saying it, looking in, if you want to make a solid piece where he can contribute, I don't think he's that dude. Now, he could definitely prove me wrong, and I hope he proves me wrong. But I'm just stating the facts that what we see doesn't look that very, menacing to the other side of the opponent. Because you want to put fear in the opponent's eyes. but he doesn't do that. So on that note, let's talk about my boy, Arnold Ebiketie, where we traded up to get him in the 2022 draft with the Denver Broncos in the second round with the 38th overall pick, where the Atlanta Falcons signed him to a 4-year contract worth $8 million, where he played 16 games, started one of those games, combined 30 tackles, 21 solos, 9 assists, 2.5 sacks, 2 pass deflections, 2 forced fumbles, 19 quarterback pressures, 11 quarterback hits, and 2 stuffing the run, and 2 tackle for losses. His best games as a rookie was against Week 1 against the New Orleans Saints, Week 4 against the Cleveland Browns, and Week 8 against the Panthers, and Week 11 against the Chicago Bears, where he balled out. And so that tells you that he has a lot of potential in his game to become more dominant. Every snap count he gets the opportunity. He has grown so much in this rookie season he has portrayed in, and I definitely know that he will continue on the right path, because I believe in this Falcons coaching staff, and I believe in the right direction we're headed, and so he can only grow even more. Obviously, he's not 100% perfect because he's a rookie, but even still, for his type of mentality as a rookie, I thought he did an excellent job. So now let's talk about Quentin Bell. So he was drafted back in 2019 in the 7th round with the 230 pick. Now he was drafted by the Raiders, and then he went with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and now he was with us. And I remember back in 2021, he was signed to the practice squad, and then he got signed on a reserve future contract with us back in 2022. So he got to play in 4 games, didn't start, only got 3 total tackles, 2 solos, 1 assist, 1 tackle for loss, and I don't really see him making the 53-man roster again. I still think he's going to be a practice squad member at the end of the day. Hopefully my boy can find a different team that can give him the opportunity he needs to have, but unfortunately for him, the Falcons probably won't give him that chance. So on that note, breaking news, the Atlanta Falcons just signed Bud Dupree on a 1-year contract worth up to $5 million. So he was drafted by the Pittsburgh Steelers back in 2015 in the first round with the 22 pick overall, and then he was signed by the Tennessee Titans back in 2021 with a 5-year contract worth $82 million, but clearly they cut him March the 16th, 2023, because he just didn't pan out for them like they were hoping for. But even still, he played for the Tennessee Titans in 11 games. He started in 11 games. He combined over 18 total tackles, 14 solos, 4 assists, 4 sacks, 6 tackle for losses, 22 quarterback pressures, 11 quarterback hits, 1 forced fumbles, and 6 times in stuffing the run. He had an average year compared to his 2019 through 2020 breakout season with the Steelers. So I really don't know why the Tennessee Titans let go of him. Maybe because of injuries, probably the contract as well. So it's just a great pickup for the Falcons. Well, I think it's a solid pickup. Look, you get him pretty cheap because of what he has accomplished in his previous seasons with the Steelers and with the Titans. So were there up and downs? Yes, he's basically like a roller coaster, but at the end of the day, if the Atlanta Falcons can tap his full potential, I think this is a great pickup. So on that note, if you guys are still here, thank you guys for watching this type of content. I really do appreciate it. I love making videos for you guys, and thank you guys from the bottom of my heart for taking your own personal time and day to watch this type of content. So on that note, what do Falcons do? Rise up. Until the next episode, show love and peace to the world, and peace.